Hello, Parity community. Welcome to this Instagram Live. I am here, Kara Winger, your Director of Integrated Influencer Marketing, as well as four-time Olympic javelin thrower, to talk to Clare Egan, two-time Olympic biathlete and fabulous Parity community member. She's super interesting. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot in common. And I'm just really excited to get the inside scoop on what she's looking forward to and headed for in Beijing. So, without further ado, Clare Egan. She will join us in one moment. She is a... Yay, Clare!
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
Great.
Thanks for being here today. Clare, you
That's
are
my pleasure.
Maine native, born and raised in Maine. I think that's so cool and interesting. That's also really... with the javelin world, I read that you're a state champion in skiing, cross-country skiing in Maine, and there aren't very many of those in the United States in the javelin either, so I love that. Wellesley alum, also University of New Hampshire alum, and you are headed to Beijing for your second Olympic Games.
Yes, that's right. Just a couple more days until we fly to China. We're actually leaving on Saturday, so it's coming up really soon.
Really soon. Oh my gosh. Where are you currently in the world?
I'm currently in northern Italy in a town called Antolz, where we just had our most recent World Cup competition, and it's really beautiful here. It's near the Austrian border in the Dolomite Mountains, really sunny and snowy, and one of my favorite places.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I have been to Rovereto, Italy, and I don't think it's quite
Okay,
Dolomites. It's not quite
no, but
far
it's
enough.
close. It's not far.
Love it. And there's like that little bit of German influence there, like the really quaint, interesting buildings compared to the rest of Italy, maybe.
Yeah, it's
Just a
definitely
gorgeous place.
more of a kind of Germanic feel. You're right. That's the main language here too.
Italian. Oh, German.
hmm
Interesting.
Yeah, like a
Interesting. Love
German
that.
dialect.
Very cool. So you leave on Saturday for Beijing. Very
Yep.
exciting. Yeah. What are you looking forward to as you get ready to go to the Olympics?
Oh, I'm looking forward to I think finally getting there and being able to just actually focus on sport and compete at the highest level. There's been a lot of extra logistics and preparation going into this games, as you can imagine. And so I'm looking forward to finally being on the ground and being able to focus on sport.
Yeah, be in that Olympic bubble a little bit. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. Yeah, very cool. And you know, right? Like this is your second games. You are like a seasoned veteran at this point, and you've also said that you are retiring this season, correct? You're going to be done.
Yeah. This is my last year. And so I'm really trying to enjoy every single competition that I have left. It's just actually really sad for me to sort of like count down the last competitions that I have. So definitely these last competitions at the Olympics, I want to really make the most of them.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. So I'm retiring this year as well. We have that in common.
Okay.
I will and finish my season hopefully at World Championships. I have to qualify, but then have hopefully meets after that too. So
Oh,
similar
cool.
situation
Yeah.
because you'll go back to World Cups, right? After Beijing.
Right. So the Biathlon World Cup starts in March or starts in November and it goes all the way until the end of March. And that tour takes us to 10 different countries. It's really exciting. And so we've done 6 World Cups before the Olympics and we have 3 more after. So the Olympics are kind of championships in the middle of the season, but I'm also really looking forward to doing the last 3 World Cups of this season in March.
Very cool. What are the 3 remaining countries that you'll go to?
Finland, Estonia, and Norway. So we had to Northern Europe for the last trimester. Yeah.
Wow. And I imagine those are like super popular biathlon countries. Yeah.
They are, yeah, and Estonia, this is the first time they've hosted a World Cup, so I've never competed there. They have hosted a lot of smaller international races, but never a World Cup. And I know that the Estonian people are really, really excited, and the venue and organizing committee are all really high level. So that will be really cool to go to 2 new places this year, China and Estonia.
Yeah, very cool. Love that. So you talked about logistics. I want to get to the elephant in the
Yeah.
room of COVID for sure. But tell me about, so biathlon is cross country skiing and rifle shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So travel must be a nightmare. Like I travel with javelins and I totally get like
Yeah,
lugging that
right.
giant
Like a
prize
giant
through.
spear in the airport is not
Yes.
exactly what most people want to see. Well, that's obviously
And
the same
checking
with a
skis and
firearm.
rifles. Yes, must
Yeah.
be
So,
difficult. Tell me about
um, it depends where you are. Actually, in the U.S., in my view, it should be harder than it is. In the U.S., you just check it like a suitcase. It has to be in a hard case and it has to be locked. But there's no special paperwork you need or anything like that, which, like I said, I really think it could probably be better regulated. But when we
Yeah.
travel to Europe, of course, we have to have a lot of paperwork in advance from the governments of the countries we're visiting to make sure that they know what we're bringing in, and so we do have permits for our our European rifle papers, and of course we have that for China as well this year.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, skis are like maybe the easier part to deal with than the firearm
Yeah, I
and
mean,
worrying about
yeah,
like,
that's true. I mean,
yeah.
and we're lucky. We have a whole staff of people who take care of our skis. So I have not had to travel with my own skis in a long time. So we have on our team, we have three full-time year-round employees who are our ski technicians, and they've, I mean, in this case with the Olympics in China, they actually shipped all of our skis via cargo on Monday this week as soon as our last World Cup was over. So hopefully those will get there.
Yeah.
But I know that we were sharing some sort of container with like Norway and Italy, so we won't be alone if our stuff doesn't come. But yeah, I'm usually not even responsible for carrying or caring for my own skis. So I'm very very well cared for by my ski technicians. I am, however, responsible for my rifle, and that
Yeah.
definitely requires getting to the airport super super early.
Wow. That's wild. What a cool thing to like be taken care of by staff though. Like I love that that
Yeah,
is like a mental load that you don't have to worry about. You just know that they're
absolutely.
taking care of you. Yeah.
My
And
skis
they
arrive
clearly
on the start line for me.
wow.
And
And they clearly have demonstrated their capability over so many years of taking care of your stuff. That's so cool.
yeah, it's a science and also an art to make fast skis. So I'm lucky that we have a great staff with a lot of experience behind us.
Wow. Wild. Wild. Okay, so I've covered very basic like biathlon I don't know, details. I'm familiar with modern pentathlon
Okay.
actually, and so the combination event, the running and laser pistol shooting, like you are shooting a firearm with ammo, correct? It's not a laser
Yep,
pistol.
it's a 22 caliber rifle. So, for anyone that ever did like a scouts program, they might have tried riflery, or some summer camps have it. It's a pretty basic firearm, just a 22. There's no big recoil or anything like that, but it is a real firearm. So, of course, the most important thing for us is safety, and we all take that really seriously. So. People kind of wonder, I think, are you skiing around with a loaded gun? And it's absolutely not like that. We have ammunition in magazines on the rifle, but we don't put the magazine with the ammunition in it into the rifle. We don't load the rifle until we're at the shooting range, pointing the rifle at the target. And then, of course, we want to
Awesome.
shoot every single bullet that's in the rifle because for you only have 5 bullets and you have 5 targets, so you really want to hit those, so you don't have to
Yes.
go in the penalty loop.
Very cool. And you're in the prone position at every station shooting, right? Face down, laying on the
Actually,
ground, or
we
is there
half
a
of
grab?
our shooting is prone, which is lying down, and half of it is standing. So there's two positions in every race, and sometimes in a race we shoot twice, and other times we shoot 4 times, depending on the format of the race.
Wow, very cool. And I was looking at there are 11 Olympic events, correct? And how is that different from World Cup? And what will you compete in? 11 combined, men and women. So like,
Right.
what are you actually going to race in Beijing? That's so cool.
So the maximum that one person could do would be 6 events at the Olympics. There's two events that are individual events that everyone is able to start. They're called the sprint and the individual. Then there's a couple of qualification events. So the top 60 people from the sprint qualify for the pursuit. And then the mass start is sort of the really pinnacle elite event that just involves the top 30 people overall, and that will come at the end of the week. So that's 4 events, and those are all individual events. And then there's 2 relays. There's one relay that's, it's 4 men together or 4 women together. And then we have a mixed relay, which is 2 men and 2 women together. So I would say a goal of mine would be to do all 6 events. That's definitely, it's a reach goal because it's hard to qualify for that mass start. But I just did my first mass start of the season here in Antolz last weekend, so I know it's possible. So
Cool.
Hopefully I'll be doing a lot of races in China.
And you are our top-ranked American biathlete going into the Olympics, correct? Like you're top 20?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what my overall ranking is right now. I've had a pretty tough start to the season just because my body wasn't feeling great. I was just tired, but I have had some results that I'm really proud of, and my shooting has been really great this whole time. So I'm just working as best I can and resting as best I can to make sure that when I do get to China, my physical form is there, because I know my shooting's been there all along. And it was very exciting last weekend. I got 4th in our race here on Friday, the 15-kilometer individual, and it's the 2nd best finish of my career, and obviously very close to that podium. So I had kind of tossed out a lot of my high-end goals because things weren't going as planned. But after last weekend, everything's back on the table. So that's an exciting way to go into the games for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually saw a comment on here. Someone said, congratulations on your last weekend. So very cool. And your best podium, or your podium finish, was 2019. Yes.
Yeah. So this was my best result that's right. I had a bronze medal in 2019, and the very last race of the season. It was really exciting. I really deserved that bronze medal. I had been skiing super fast all year, but I was still fairly new in biathlon, and my shooting skills weren't quite there. So I had a lot of really close calls that season, and I finally nailed it in the last race. Since then it's just been a lot of ups and downs, some great results, some not great results, but it was very exciting to finish 4th last weekend, which is my best result. I've had a couple 6th places between 2019 and now, but that was my best result in a couple of years. So
amazing.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, that brings me directly to, like, I totally relate to what you just said, like throwing some of the big goals out the window. I've had two ACL tears. Like, I'm 35. Like, I totally understand the inclination to, like, give yourself a break, but then you have these moments of brilliance that, like, encourage you that this one last season is worth all of your effort and all of your time and all of your, like, vulnerability. Yeah. So talk to me about, like, your mindset going into the second Olympics. Obviously it's way different than 2018. You've said that your shooting is way better. Like, you're in this really good place coming off of 4th, but, like, overall, what's different? Like, what is your attitude that's different from Korea? Like, how are you approaching Beijing?
Well, I think when I went to the Olympics in Pyeongchang, I was everything was still really new to me. I mean, the whole sport was new to me, and I am really glad that I have had that experience behind me, because I feel like it sets me up much better to go into this second Olympics with just a different demeanor, I guess. I think I'm more poised. I have more confidence in my skills, but I also think I have more a better understanding of just how humbling the sport is. And biathlon, if for people who haven't watched much of it before, it is really volatile. We have people who get 85th place one week and first the next, and that's pretty common. It's just, you can have a bad day on the shooting range and really sends you back in the results. And so I think I'm much better at sort of overcoming those coming back out of those valleys, you know, they're an inevitable part of the sport. So I just think my attitude is better going into this Olympics. And because it is my last year, I am really making a conscious effort to get everything I can out of every performance and every opportunity I have to compete. And I think that that's a really healthy way to go into races, and not just obsessed with meeting a certain standard or getting a certain result, but just trying to get absolutely everything I can out of everything I've trained, out of my, you know, my training, my body, my mind, every opportunity I have to race. So and whatever happens, I know I'll be proud of the effort that I put in.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly where I was. And this will bring me to COVID Olympics. In Tokyo, I was 11 months post-op, 11 months post-op my second ACL. And so literally just happy to be there. Like, I'd already decided. I think there's so much power in making that decision that it will be your last one. Like,
Yeah.
I absolutely commend you for doing that, like, I'm going to make it everything that I can, but whatever it is, like, I will be grateful for like every single moment, because I think when people get into real trouble with like the Olympic blues is when there's that uncertainty. Like, will I go back? Could I have done better? Like, what could have gone like more in my favor that maybe wasn't in my control, but now it feels like I should have tried to control it. Like, that
Yeah.
spiral is so eliminated by making this decision. So I'm super excited to watch you like take advantage of every moment.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, every year since 2018, I have really gone year by year with deciding whether to continue competing or not. And one of the major reasons I wanted to do this year was just to have that kind of closure. And one more year just to give everything I have and know that I'm emptying the tank. And yeah, I'm sure I'll miss it when I'm done. But right now I'm really focused on giving everything I have.
Very cool. Love it. I was just happy to be there. So many things happened that I didn't expect, and I'm sure that the same will happen for you, in good and bad ways, which brings me to the elephant
Yeah.
in the room and in the entire world, the COVID Olympics. Like, I don't think people talked enough about all the hoops we had to jump through to get to Tokyo. So tell me about that process so far. Like, what is a thing you didn't expect, or like, how are you approaching it to like stay sane and just focus on your job?
Let me tell you about the COVID Olympics. No, yeah, we have a lot going on in preparation for these Olympics. What I do when I have a lot going on is I make a spreadsheet or a to-do list. So I actually had to make a spreadsheet for this, to all of the, like, the checklist of starting 2 weeks out, what I had to do, in terms of like daily health monitoring, uploading various documents and test results to different websites in China and also the US Olympic Committee. You know, preparing myself for the cybersecurity issues that we're expecting in China, and sort of making a plan about how I'm going to deal with technology and media while I'm there. I mean, there's so many sort of extra layers of things that I didn't have to even give a single thought to when I was going to Pyeongchang or any other competition I've gone to. But I am really I mean, when you asked me what I was looking forward to, maybe it was a boring answer, but that's why I'm really looking forward to being there on the ground so I can focus on sport. I'm looking forward to competing in China. That's what I'm looking forward to doing. And so we have to get through all these hoops, but I'm feeling like we're pretty close. And then once we're there, I do think that I'm going to feel really safe in the closed loop, in the bubble that we have there. And hopefully that will allow me and all the other athletes to focus on sport, which is what we're there to do.
Yeah, 100%. And that totally came through in Tokyo. So I want to really encourage you that is absolutely true, because like, I know that, you know, in a lot of the winter sports, like, you are inside with your teammates a lot of the time. Like, you're spending this time together around the world. So you're already used to this bubble. But for me in track and field, like that isn't always true. Like at every other Olympics, there's like it's the summer, and so you can go to the beach in Rio and go to these sponsor
Yeah.
houses and go. There's like so many things that pull teammates away from each other. So in Tokyo, to have that togetherness, forced togetherness that we like absolutely made the most of, was actually a very cool outcome like of that Olympics for me. So I'm excited for you to get that fully like immersive experience at your last games too. Yeah. Yeah, and like resilience, we can do anything as athletes. Like I was so blown away that, you know, athletes are always like gifted with perseverance and ability to like put up with a lot of stuff that is supposed to distract you, but you remain focused on the job. And that is just amplified 1,000% with all of the COVID hoops, but it makes it that much more amazing to get there and do your job. So
Yeah, we're
for sure.
lucky. We have our sports psychologist with us right now, so who's someone I've worked with since I did my first World Cup in 2015. So that's a person who I really lean on in times like this when I know that I have that there are a lot of distractions. I mean, I'm prepared for things to, you know, for it to be challenging in China in a lot of different ways. I mean, there's not only the distractions that we've talked about, like with COVID and cybersecurity, but there's also, I think interviews will potentially be difficult due to the sort of political nature of things. And then also we have sport challenges where we expect it to be really cold and really windy where we're competing. And those are obviously challenges for biathlon. And so just knowing that there's going to be challenges, I think it's really important that I have my coach who I have a great relationship with and my sports psychologist and all these sort of supportive people around me to help me be able to focus on my job.
Yeah, love it. Very cool. And speaking of that and like teammates and kind of the way that you've evolved maybe over the last 4 years as an athlete, like I'm really interested in your board voting role at IBU, at the International Biathlon Union, and maybe how that impacts like your mindset about sport as well. Like I think as far as women are concerned, like an absolute superpower is being able to fully immerse yourself in this thing that you're passionate about in multiple ways. So like you had to, you know, accept a nomination or run for this position, and how has that role and like the change that you've been able to affect or the input that you've been able to have on the sport as a whole affected your own like approach to your sport or maybe motivation even on the course? Like I imagine representing your teammates like gives you some sort of like extra fire in competition.
Yeah, I think so. I ran for the position for the IBU Athletes Committee in 2018, but I really was not expecting to win, like not at all, because I was fairly new to the sport and certainly not one of the top athletes. I think my best result, at that time was somewhere in the teens. I mean, I really wasn't expecting to win, but the IBU was really in a bad place at that time with corruption in the whole organization, especially the top leadership. And we had major doping scandal in our sport, and I had been very outspoken about that. And I didn't think that people really cared, or I wasn't sure people were listening. And then when I did get elected, I realized that other athletes did care about those topics and that they had been listening and they were aware that I was speaking out on those issues. And I also sort of realized that maybe because I was a lower profile athlete and because I'm from the US where biathlon is not a major sport, maybe I had the ability and the privilege to speak out where some really top superstar athletes in countries where biathlon is like the number one sport, they maybe didn't feel comfortable speaking out because it could affect, it would be such a huge distraction for them at the media and everything. So
Yeah.
I really took that as a pretty strong mandate from my fellow athletes, and took that into the athletes committee with the three other members. And we've really been able to do a lot, I think, in the 4 years that we've worked as a committee. And as you mentioned, one of the biggest things was we created that position on the IBU executive board, which didn't exist previously. So there was no athlete representative prior to 2018, and now there is, and I've been serving in that role, and it's of course really critical to have athletes represented in every decision-making body in any sport organization, but especially the highest level one. So that's been a role that I take really seriously, representing not only my teammates. I mean, I'm not an American when I'm serving there. I'm an athlete. I'm serving all the athletes from all the different countries. And I take that really seriously, especially because I am the first person to do it. I really want to set a precedent for the professionalism which an athlete should bring to that role. And yeah, it's been my honor to serve the athletes from all over the world in the sport. And I think even though it is a lot of work, it has given me something to do in my sport that's not just about me. It's more altruistic. It's about the whole community and athletes from all over the world. And that sort of sense of purpose outside my own results has given me at least as much energy as the sort of work aspect has taken out. So overall, I think I've really been able to draw energy from that role. And additionally, it has had another sort of surprising positive effect, which was that I've really met a lot of people, and sort of created this other community outside of my own team that is, other people working for the IBU, or people working behind the scenes in the media, or, just other people working in the sort of sport administration world who I wouldn't have known otherwise. That's been a really interesting community to be part of, and it's given me a little bit more of just another social outlet on the road, which is really nice to have over 5 months when we're in Europe. So yeah, overall, it's been a really enriching experience.
Very cool. I absolutely love that. And being in a sport like track and field, not necessarily, but javelin is so much bigger in Europe. Like there are so many more people that throw it, and kids that throw it, and people that understand it better than Americans. So having that international community is very, very cool for me too. And I'm so glad that you've jumped into that role.
Thanks. Yeah.
Do you think that in our interview with you for the blog that'll come out tomorrow, where people can learn even more about two-time Olympian Clare Egan, biathlete, you talked about the kind of grassroots involvement of biathlon in Europe as well. And so I imagine that this community you're building through IBU and the international relationships that you have maybe have exposed you more to the kids that are learning to shoot air rifles at 5 and 6 years old. Talk to me about your not only involvement in those maybe camps or whatever. We have camps sometimes at big meets where we can go and teach kids how to throw javelins, and it's really fun to have a language barrier, but be able to share something that you love. And maybe you don't have a language barrier because you speak 5 languages. Have you been able, through your connections and your multilingualness, been able to connect with the grassroots kind of movements of biathlon in Europe?
Well,
coach a little bit.
I would say in Europe, I really haven't done so much of that. And I mean, part of that I think is just due to the pandemic. I mean, we just don't even have spectators anymore, which is so sad. But my teammates and I really have made a pretty big effort within the US to, especially on the women's side, to help encourage the next generation of girls to get involved in biathlon. Biathlon, I mean, cross-country skiing is really, I think, it seems like it's really taking off in the US. And that's how I and all of my female teammates at this point. That's all of us got our start in cross country skiing. But biathlon just doesn't have the same sort of critical mass right now. And so we've really tried to get out and mentor the next generation of girls as best we can in a lot of different ways. But we have hosted a couple biathlon clinics, usually in the spring when we're back in the US. We have our national championships in the end of March, and we've often done a clinic for girls biathlon at that. And we've had over 100 girls come out, and we try to show them how to shoot the rifle. Of course, they're just lying on the ground, and it's one of us for one of them. They don't ski with the rifle on or anything like that, but we teach them about skiing, we teach them about shooting, and just try to introduce them to the sport so that they know it's out there. So that has been really cool every time we've had an opportunity to do that.
Very cool.
And hopefully going forward, that will continue and be a part of our legacy that we leave behind.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, do you love that? Do you want to coach? Like, what is the future of Clare Egan after sport?
I don't think I do, at least not right now. I do. Sometimes I think about it just because I do. Obviously, any athlete that's retiring after an elite level career, we have so many skills and so much knowledge and experience. I don't want it to kind of go to waste. I would love to share it somehow, but I'm not at the moment planning on making biathlon my career after biathlon. But it remains to be seen how I'm going to stay involved in the sport. I will say that I've had a couple of former teammates who I competed with who have now retired, and they all have stayed involved in biathlon in some way. One of my teammates lives in Germany here with her partner, and she coaches a local German club. One of my, somebody else works for US Biathlon. So someone else is coaching a local club in New York. Everyone seems to stay involved at some level, and I'm sure I will too, but I haven't exactly figured out what that's going to look like.
Yeah, very cool. I think the camp thing is so great. Like, I would love to have javelin camps as well, because like I said, it's kind of similar. Like, it's not very popular in the US. There are some people that can teach it well, but I don't necessarily want that to be my entire life. So the camp opportunity is like a sort of one and done, get all that enthusiasm out there, expose as many people as possible in one go. And still be able to pursue like other dreams in your own life outside of that camp. So
yeah, well, and I think with something like javelin and also something like biathlon, they, for whatever reason, are not things that girls maybe gravitate towards. I think maybe just historically they were men's things, but they're not. And I'm
correct.
lucky, and they're just not. And I'm lucky that, and I'm really lucky, if we want to talk parity, I'm really lucky that in my sport we do have gender parity on the athlete side of things. We have, in our World Cup competitions or Olympic competitions, we have 100 men on the start line and 100 women on the start line. We have equal prize money. We compete in the same stadium on the same day. We have, the stadium is full for the women's race and the men's race, and our millions and millions of TV viewers and huge market share in these European countries, they're tuning in for the women's races at least as much, if not more, than the men's races. So that is something that I just feel so, it's normal for me, but I realize that in most other sports, that's simply not the case. So that's something that, yeah, I feel lucky about, and it's one more reason why I am excited to share my sport with girls, because the opportunities are just great. And one thing that we are really working to do at starting at the International Biathlon Union, but sort of working down into all of our national federations, is try to increase the parity, the gender parity at the coaching and administration level and in the other jobs besides the athletes. Because what tends to happen is that after a sport career, a lot of the men do tend to sort of transition into coaching roles or administrative roles, and historically that has not been the case for women. So the IBU is really making a big push to create, mentorship programs and different sort of like networking and education opportunities for female athletes, so that when we retire, our skills aren't lost. You don't just hemorrhage like the skills and knowledge of half of your athlete population. You want to keep that in. Yeah, we'll see how I stay involved in biathlon in the future, but again, not exactly sure yet.
But great ideas. Love it very much. And you did talk to our interviewers about the gender parity in your sport, which is so cool and so important to the parity mission, obviously. It's really neat to hear that from biathlon, and viewers and everyone can read even more about that in the blog that is coming out on you tomorrow, Thursday, January 27th. I also loved what you said in that interview about loving the spectators at events. So you're going to have spectators in Beijing. I'm really happy for you in that performance aspect. It was very weird to have no one in the stadium in Tokyo. So excited about that for you. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I saw one question was like, who are you going to miss a lot when you retire from the world?
Oh, there's so many people that, probably number one is our spectators and fans. I already miss them. They give me so much joy, and they really, we had one World Cup this year with full spectators. We were in Le Grand Bornand in France, and we had a full stadium and a course. I've never seen a course so thickly lined with people. It must have been 50 people deep in some places. It was incredible.
Everyone just wanted to be there finally. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. It was incredible and so loud and so supportive. They were chanting USA. These are French people. Like, I've never experienced that. They were just cheering for every athlete, whether first or last, whether from France or some other nation. And I'm so glad I was able to experience that one last time. Maybe not the last, but I took it in as if it were, just in case. But that has really been one of the major highlights of being a professional athlete, is seeing the joy that sport can bring to people. And I know that people who are watching at home are also experiencing that excitement. But it's definitely a special thing to see it live. So I'll miss that. There's so many people. I will definitely miss a lot of my competitors from other countries who I'm not close with, but we'd see each other every weekend all winter long, and then we don't see each other all summer, and then we see each other again. And over the years, we really build up such a respect for one another. I have been thinking about that lately, how this sport is so hard and so humbling, and everyone in biathlon has moments where they have a really, truly terrible race, and maybe you only hit 20% of your targets or something, and you get last. Like, it really happens to everyone. And I think that's unusual across sports. It's not true in every sport that, even the best people sometimes have the worst results, but that's true in biathlon. It can happen to anyone on any day. And because I think we've all gone through that at various times, we can really have respect for one another for going out every day and just really putting yourself on the line. You're putting it all out there when you're doing biathlon. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But that really, I have so much respect for everyone who's brave enough to do this sport. And so I'll miss seeing those people on a regular basis. And then of course my team, of course I'll miss them, but I think I will, I know that I'll keep in touch with my team for the rest of my life.
Yeah, very cool. And it sounds to me like you're just going to miss community. And I totally get that these people understand you, they understand each other in a way that no one else in the rest of life ever will. And that's okay, because you'll still have them by your side, and you'll still all have that shared experience, no matter what you do in the rest of life. So yeah. Very cool.
I think that's true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to watch you in Beijing. I saw biathlon on a plane recently. I was flipping through channels and I was like,
That's
let me watch
great.
some
I'm so
biathlon.
glad to hear
Yeah,
that.
I loved it. And I'm really excited for you. I am hopeful that you will take momentum into Beijing, but I am more excited that you have this clarity around like what your mission is and just having kind of your heart wide open for this last Olympics.
Yep, that's
So
the name of the
really
game.
appreciate your time. Yeah, really appreciate your time. And for everyone watching, you can learn even more about Claire. I'm excited to read the blog tomorrow on paritynow.co. In our news section is a great interview with even more sharing about kind of the ins and outs and some of your strategies going into races, warm-ups. I heard you say track and field people have weird warm-ups, and I am absolutely that person.
Well, I
So
do them for the record. The context
yeah,
was that I'm doing my weird track and field warm up before the races. I'm
yeah,
a that was my first sport, so I carry that into my biathlon career. I'm out there doing, my A skips and B skips or whatever.
I bet
So
you're still better at them than me. So I love that piece. And there's so much more in that blog. And I'm just really happy to have you as a member of the Parity community and
thank you.
Team USA, fellow Olympian. So best
Thank
of luck.
you. Thanks so
Great.
much. Thanks for having me. Thanks to all the people tuning in. I see a lot of names I recognize on here. So um, thanks for watching and learning about biathlon and following us and supporting us as we head to China in a couple days.
Awesome. Good luck. Fantastic to meet you.
Thanks.
I
Nice
will
to meet
read
you
the blog.
too. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.